At the heart of all desire for independence is the interest in breaking away from what is currently being done or what has always been done, or the constant echo chamber of thoughts and ideas that don't fit where you want to go. We will discuss independence, its renegade roots, and more on this episode of today's Antidote. Maybe if I can find the video.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning. How are you, Bob?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
Had a little glitch there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I got this whole list of video clips, and I dragged down too far and hit the closing, and then didn't want to let go because I didn't want to start with the closing, and it dragged it, and then I had to drag it back, and then just a technical glitch this morning.
That's right. It's the day after a holiday. Lots of people feel the glitch.
I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that way this morning.
Yes. Wow.
How was your holiday?
Your opening. My holiday was good.
Yep.
Very, very busy. Saw fireworks out over the water Saturday night, and
Nice.
And yesterday just hung out. Had a really nice steak dinner with friends.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Excellent.
How about you? You just worked the lacrosse stuff, right?
It was a day of lacrosse, which was great. And then we had dinner with my son and his fiance, so that was fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to this episode of today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around a topic. As I mentioned, this week's topic is independence. Fittingly so, as we celebrated here in the United States the 4th of July. And throughout that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas you want to share, please feel free to post them. Whatever social media you happen to be following this in, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live.
Yes, LinkedIn Live. As we welcome those thoughts and ideas, because it has an impact on our show and what we discuss. And it likely will have a benefit for someone out there. In addition, at the end of our conversation, we will share our one thing, our today's antidote, that we hope will help you maybe today or somewhere down the line take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. So please feel free to also share your one thing if you have one, because we know that will have impact for someone out there who might be desperately looking for it. And before we dive into our conversation each day, we start our day off with celebrations. I know we did a lot of celebrating yesterday for the 4th of July. So what are you celebrating today, Bob?
Tom, you said it this morning when we were talking. I'm celebrating my own independence, my ability to do whatever I choose whenever I wish, in a way that I don't think I really thought about until you said it this morning.
Oh, interesting. From my intro or something else?
No, before your intro, our discussion.
Yes.
To those who don't pay attention, Tom and I usually have a discussion about my life beforehand and often my life afterwards. It's a very one-sided relationship in that regard, but it all works.
I share a little bit. I talk about my tournaments and things go family, and you just choose to bring yours up in the show.
Yeah.
I would say that the conversation is a little differently sided.
Yeah.
And still, that's the way it goes sometimes.
That's it.
So you're celebrating your independence.
Yes. Yes. How about
you? It's a good week to do that.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent.
How about you?
I am celebrating that.
We do this every day, Tom.
I know.
This isn't real hard. There's very little preparation we have to do, but you need to come to the party with a celebration.
I know. For the person who likes to talk about celebrations,
Yeah.
I need to focus on that. You know what I'm going to celebrate? I don't know if I shared this yesterday. Maybe I did. So this tournament that women's lacrosse tournament that I'm assigning, that is going along with the World Championships.
Right.
We had 3 women from Japan officials.
You talked about this yesterday.
Yes.
You can't do the same celebration today.
Well, here's what I'm going to celebrate is that I had a chance to work with one of them. I got to get on the field, and despite challenges in language, we were able to officiate a game because the language of the rules of lacrosse are very similar or the same. And so we found a common ground in the lacrosse game. And I thought that was a fun thing. I don't think I'd ever officiated a game. I'm trying to think about this with an official from another country. So that was a fun thing that I'm celebrating this morning.
All right. Just so you know, Tom, you got 3 more days this week. You need to come up with celebrations. So
I know. I like to try to spur of the moment, which is not always a great plan.
I usually think about like a half hour beforehand.
Okay. That's probably a good idea.
Not
I guess
always,
I'd have to be up to do that. No.
So
I'm going to share this, Bob, because I think it's a great way while we're doing celebrations. One of our viewers says, Bob, I love your terrific enthusiasm you share. Puts me in a good mood. A bunch of emojis. Thank you, Bob. Did you write that? Thank you, Bob. Bob wrote it about.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you to that listener. I wasn't able to figure out who it was. And there's another comment. I have a feeling it's from the same person. This person is a big fan of yours. Good morning, Bob. Great to hear you this morning. Look forward to another great show. Take good care. Have a terrific Tuesday, my friend.
Wow.
You have a fan club.
Timing couldn't be better.
We need like the Bob Graham fan club t-shirts. We'll have to come up with a name for them so we can define them. I'll think about that.
This feels like it might have some legs.
Yeah, it could. Anyhow, all right. So
thank you for that. Well, whoever you are, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes, you'll have to figure that out later and send them a nice note, or send them the $20 you promised them. One of the other.
Per comment, so I'm out $40.
Yes, that's right. They are a loyal fan of your show, they said in another comment. So that's and they say, I think they say your show. That means that's your show, not our show.
You really need to go to Facebook right now and figure out who it is.
I'll work on it. So why don't you kick us off with your thoughts about independence and its renegade roots?
Well, it struck me when we were coming up with this topic that back in the 1700s, 1600s, into the 1700s, our country had these people that decided that they didn't like the way the British were doing things. And so they set out on their own course. They changed things around. They set up their own constitution, their own rules, and basically said, we're going to keep what we like, but we're going to try things differently and see if we get a different result. And it occurred to me last week that that's what we do as leaders, business owners, anyone who's trying to carve our own unique path. We take what we know has worked in the past, and then we add to it, and we try different things. And we build something, like a nation 200 some odd years later, or a company like Facebook, or a enterprise like the American Cancer Society. And all these things came out of nothing. And, not out of nothing, but they were built on the foundation of other things. And then they were uniquely themselves. And so I think that's what we have the opportunity as leaders, as business owners, entrepreneurs, even as employees, to just carve our own path and really take advantage of that opportunity. I'm doing this late in my life. I wish I'd started this path of being a renegade way sooner. I think in some ways there were flashes of it, but it wasn't as crystallized as it is now for me. And I I find that it can be scary. It can be exciting. It can be nerve-wracking. It can be fun. But it's always learning new things every single day. What do you think about all that? Did you figure out who it was, Tom?
I didn't. No, I was distracted. I was trying to listen to what you had to say, and
Oh, okay. All right. I know you can't multitask like I can.
I'm not skilled with that. I try to stay focused in the moment.
Okay.
Try as best I can. No, I think what's interesting is, and I was glad that you amended your words, that all those things came from nothing, that they actually came from something. And I think and I'm sure it was going on even before the founding of our country, that there were people who had ideas that were different from someone else, and they actually chose to act on those. And I think that's a big piece of, where this idea of being a renegade takes its roots, is that someone choosing to take that next step and to say, here is something that doesn't fit with where I am, isn't what I'd like to do, is another way of looking at things. And they took the opportunity to try to move forward and do something about it, not just think about it, not just wonder what it might be, complain about it, but to really move forward and try to take this next step to make it a reality. And I think that in and of itself is a huge step towards independence. And as we know, that independence isn't easy, as I think you shared a little bit, as you found it, and likely why sometimes people don't find it as early as they thought, because they felt like, well, maybe this is a little more comfortable, this is a little easier, I'm not ready to step out away from what I've always done or always known to consider doing something differently. And I think maybe that's why many of us find it later in life, when we have more confidence, more security, and a greater interest, that we're tired of the way it has always been. And maybe you realize that we only have one life, and we only have a certain amount of time that we don't have any always control over. And the time is now. And
sometimes you get forced into it as well.
Sometimes you get forced into it. Absolutely. Sometimes others make choices that impact and provide you with independence you didn't know that you had, which could be, many times I think those things are seen as huge challenges rather than as huge opportunities.
Yes, I would agree. So I guess the other thing about this, Tom, is that, the renegade roots, we all have them inside of us. We've all done things in our lives that go against the grain. There's no one among us who hasn't. And I think as we do those things and we do more of them, and we see that the world doesn't come to an end, I can remember in high school, there was a big party that I was supposed to go to, and I got grounded and I didn't go. And I thought my whole life was coming to an end. And Monday came, and, I asked people how the party was, and it was like, yeah, I was fine. Where were you? Oh, I got grounded, and life went on. And I recovered from that. And, I think back to that now and remember how cataclysmic that was. That, I was the renegade, not by my choice, but by my father's choice, by not going to the party. But it wasn't that big a deal. I made it more of a big deal than it needed to be. And I think we all have these things that we do in our life that are unique to us, that sometimes we try to squander them or hide them. And I'm finding the more we embrace them, the more we embrace those roots, the more opportunity comes from that, because I think we're becoming our true self.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting, as you were talking about that, it reminded me of, and I can't remember the title of the week, but it was something to do with a tree. And it might've been the Renegade tree. I can't remember. This was a while ago. This might've been in the beginning of the first year. And the whole idea of, the roots are there. It's just whether or not we choose to provide them the space to grow, nurture them with water or food or sunlight or whatever it might be, And I think so often we choose not to, because it doesn't seem like it is going to be where we would be. And yet, as I think about it and think about, one of my favorite quotes is, do something today that your future self will thank you for. When you nurture some feeling inside of you that allows it to bloom, you get to enjoy either the sunshine that it brings or the shade that it provides. And you would never have had that moment if not for the thing that you did to allow it to grow.
And it takes time.
And it takes time.
There are the years that I've had trees where they don't grow at all, sort of. And then there are years when they go crazy. And there's no rhyme or reason to that. Maybe it rained more this year, maybe the sun was different, whatever. But it takes time to grow a tree. That's not 3 days. That might be 20 or 30 years in some cases until it becomes a full-grown tree.
And how do we ever know what's a full-grown tree?
Right. Correct.
I think that's the other piece of it, is that, just allowing it to get started will allow it to continue to grow. And there is a cycle to it. And I think that and I think what's unfortunate sometimes is when people choose to nurture those roots, and yet it doesn't pan out the way they thought. And they just dismiss it all and think, well, that didn't work out.
Right.
And yet sometimes if you take all of what you have and then you use that, which I think is what we do, we take that knowledge, experience, and perspective that we've gained, and we use that to do whatever's next. So like if you grow a tree but it never flowers, and you think, oh, well, that's no good, and you just let it decay, or you could cut it down and use the wood to do something else,
right,
to build something, to provide energy for something. Like all of these things tend to build on each other if we allow ourselves to understand the knowledge, experience, and perspective that we have gained, rather than just making a judgment on the results that we received.
I like that. And the tree grows, the roots may be taking shape and growing while you can't see the top part that's out growing.
Certainly.
And I think that happens a lot. We have a lot of growth that's going on under the surface in all of us just by what we go through each day.
Certainly. Yes, we do.
So
Bob, what's your one thing about independence and Renegade Roots?
I think we all have the roots of being a renegade long before we realize it. And I think if you're contemplating being a renegade or worried about it, maybe an idea would be to look back at when you were a renegade as a child. Because I see the same things I did as a renegade as a child being very similar to the things I do that generate revenue for me today.
Interesting. This is all part of your knowledge, experience, and perspective.
Right. How about you?
I think for me, what my one thing is going to be, and I would encourage people to do this, like yesterday. Yesterday was all about looking back and celebrating what our founders did that we're thankful for today. And I would encourage others to think about, okay, what are those things that you are thankful for today? How did it get started? I was thinking about this as as a TED talk or a presentation that I might do to someone, is encourage people to pick a moment that you are happy about. So like, what are you celebrating today? And can you remember the first time you recognized that, or the first thing you took towards that? So let's say someone is recognizing a birthday. What's your earliest memory of how that happened? Or getting married. And what was the first time you met that person? Or your anniversary, like go all the way back. And I think we remember in our anniversary the day we got married. I think so often we forget about the day we first met, and how all of those things and those steps along the way got us to where we are today. And so I would think that if you are struggling to figure out how to become a renegade or how to take your next step, go back to the first step and why that mattered, and look how far you have come since then. And I think that just like our country, as we celebrated yesterday, it goes through ebbs and flows where we think there's a lot of things to celebrate. And then there are times when we aren't so sure there are as many things to celebrate. And I think that's all part of the cycle as we move forward, that it is growth, even though some may feel like it's a step sideways, backwards, whatever the case might be.
Nice. Wow. This has been action-packed.
Action-packed.
This is a go back and listen to it again kind of day.
Yes, I would agree. I might have to do that. Anyhow, well, thanks everyone for being a part of our show. If you have one thing you'd like to share about independence and its renegade roots, or something that struck you based on the conversation that we had, please feel free to share it in the comments on whatever social media you're choosing. We would greatly appreciate it, and we think others would find value in it as well. If you are listening to the podcast and aren't able to do that, just go to our Facebook group, Ring of Renegades. We'll be talking about independence all week long, and you can share your thoughts and ideas there as well, because someone in there may be desperately looking for that to help them take their next step, or maybe their first step in determining how they can find their independence and let whatever that piece of renegade inside of them is grow. So we look forward to seeing you inside of the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, and embrace the renegading you, and look at those renegade roots. You have them, I promise. Dig them up. See what's going on.
Or rather than dig them up, put some water and food on them.
Yeah, cultivate them.
Cultivate them. Don't dig up the roots. Let them grow.
Don't dig up the roots. No, I'm sorry. Cultivate.
All right, everybody, go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.